not as good as animals, then?
Indeed. And as the animals, you may feed as freely as you please. On grass.
Well said, Sir Roger.
I did drama at school, and a teacher spoke to my parents and said they thought I should be doing something like that. That was good. And so my parents asked me if I wanted to go and maybe to a drama school, and of course I said yes. We applied to Corona Academy of Dramatic Art. It was its full title, in Ravenscourt, Hammersmith, and so I got into that school. And the school are agents as well, so they were naturally, all of us at the school at some point had gone for many auditions. So you'd be doing a variety of auditions for all kinds of things. I think I appeared in a couple of musical TV things right from the beginning, and a Cilla Black show as well. You know, they had kids doing a kind of chorus type stuff, and so then I'd audition, and films like Our Mother's House, Charity for Robin Hood, Goodbye Mr. Chips, they were just part of the routine of going to auditions, and then you went through a short, you know, they'd shortlist people until they'd chosen you. So I got Our Mother's House with a lot of, you know, meetings and screen tests and things, whereas A Challenge for Robin Hood, basically because there was already quite enough material for them to look at, I just got selected to play that role, so it wasn't demanding. And I was still very, you know, still quite young, and I don't think my performance was very exceptional at all. Challenge for Robin Hood was really a family film, and so there was nothing. There was really no real drama going on. It was mostly excuses for action and for sword fights, but so it was very soft movie. I just liked the adventure of it. I mean, I used to ride on the horses there, although I had no horse riding training. But they were very docile creatures. I think they were especially trained to deal with these idiots that have to sit on their back. And so I used to go horse riding, and you know, around the forests. And of course, yeah, sometimes making films is fun. You know, it's not fun to watch all the fighting and the action sequences, although they were again very simple and very primitive compared to some of the material today.
Slow down! What are you trying to do? Choke me?
That's not a bad idea.
What?
At that time, the only person I knew was Alfie Bass and James Hayter. Those are the only actors I knew of. So Richard Green and others. Well, Richard Green was a TV series, wasn't he? Yeah. So I didn't know who Barry Ingham was. I didn't know Gay Hamilton. None of those people were known to me, but I think they were fairly minor at that time and became better known later on. But there were no big stars. I mean, James Hayter had been a bit of a star in the 40s and 50s, Pickwick Papers and things, before becoming Friar Tuck, and later the voice of Mr. Kipling Cakes. Barry Ingham sometimes had a double because only at certain moments. Most of the time he was on camera fencing, you know, especially, you know, when his face is being seen. But for some of the rear shots, they had a stuntman doing some of the fencing, just some of the time. So it just meant that he was probably in less danger, and also the stuntman was a more accomplished fencer, you know, so it looked more realistic. Well, Pennington Richard was a very quiet man. He was very tall, he had a beard. I mean, he was quite senior then, I guess. I mean, he must have been, don't know what, he was beyond 50s, I think. Having done lots of these Children Foundation films previously, he was assigned to this. And he didn't say an awful lot. He was very quiet and just let us get on with our performances. Pinewood Studios, where we were based, I think they just raided whatever costumes were available. I don't think there were any designs going on or anything like that. It was just all bog standard stuff that they'd pulled out of their warehouses. But I enjoyed all of that aspect of it. But you very quickly become blasé about it. It's meaningless, you know. Often the most interesting times is during lunch. You go to the canteen there to have lunch, and of course you're surrounded by stars. The Bond stage had already been created then at Pinewood, and so you see all kinds of things going on. That's the most interesting things about being a child and was really things like looking at the special effects departments and wandering and looking at models that were built, and things that children see as toys, you know, rather than. So that was the only really interesting thing for children. The stuff in front of the camera, that was just working stuff. You just quite often it was tedious process unless you were yourself performing. It was shot over a period of 6 weeks. I mean, Hammer films were made very quickly in those days. They had at that time, I think the budget was, although we were talking about the mid-late 1960s, the budget was about £100,000, which was still considered a small budget, but was still significant. There were still much lower budget films made than that at that time as well. And they had a very significant set at Pinewood in one of the sound stages of the inside of the castle, various rooms, and the main banquet room where Robin Hood was tied up and made to feel the pain of the open fire. But most of it was location work in the areas around Black Forest, I think was around Pinewood. And there were other film productions going on, so sometimes Robin Hood would be running through the forest and you'd hear machine gun fire and explosions. So then they had to sort of liaise with the other production crew to say, look, we're about to shoot now, can you not have any explosions or gunfire?
Go on. I'm stuck. I can't. You can.
Sound is one of the big problems, you know, with, I know in other countries, sound during shooting was least important. It was just a reference and everything's dubbed. But, you know, in Britain, nearly everything is not dubbed, and you only dubbed if there's a problem. And so post-syncing took place if there was some issue with the sound at the time. We were very careful to make sure that everything was recorded, and what you hear on the screen is what was recorded at the time by those actors. So 6 weeks is very quick work, and Hammer did manage that. They were masters at producing quite good quality. I mean, certainly from a photography, art department point of view, their production values were very strong for the money they were spending. And there was no nonsense. You had 6 weeks and that was it. You finished your film.
Boy, release the bird.
Scene in the woods where I name him Robin Hood. You know, I found that a bit embarrassing because it was so corny and such a lame thing to be doing. But I know we'll call him Robin Hood, I think was the line, as I pull a hood over his head.
I know, we'll call him Robin Hood.
I appear every now and again throughout the film, which may create the illusion that I have a big part, but I didn't actually. I was there throughout the whole of the shooting period, and saw most of it being filmed. I suppose the moment when I'm running through the woods and I'm fired upon by one of the sheriff's men, I think he was actually one of the senior officers, I duck behind a tree and the arrow hits it, and that was potentially dangerous, but they had a good marksman, and I felt pretty safe. Everything just seemed to run smoothly. There were no... on other productions, sometimes there were big issues might come up, but rain or shine, we filmed and got on with it, and that was the end of it. There was a school at Pinewood as well. All the studios had schools, small like classroom for underage actors like myself, and every now and again you had to be whisked away from the set, and you had to do I think it was a minimum 3 hours of actual academic study So they'd bring you back and forth from the classroom, and you'd see children from other productions there as well. But it was a very quick and easy production, and it was not at all demanding work for me.
Why, read it to me. It's from Robin.
Good friend, when I was young, you showed me a passage to the moat. Open it now, I pray you.